All right, good morning out there, guys. Welcome to what should have been a rainy Sunday show. I'm Howler Mouse, and we're going to talk about the MCU this morning. Coming at you about 95% healthy again. Last 2 months, I've had COVID, and then I had the flu, and we're recovering from that. So that's where I've been. And check in this afternoon if you're watching live. We were coming at you on March 30th, 2025, 9:32 in the AM on a rainy Sunday. And you know those rainy Sundays, those are the days that as a kid I would get a stack of the stepdad's comics, the uncle's comics. Probably by some time I had my own comics, and I would pile up on the bed and listen to the rain hitting the roof while I sit there and took in some, John Byrne, Jack Kirby, Mark Greenwald, just who knows what was going on, Gene Colan, some Marv Wolfman, those kind of things, those people. And this afternoon, March 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Pana Diaz and I will be talking about the Age of Apocalypse, that X-Men event from 30 years ago, because it's their anniversary. So check in for that this afternoon too, or check in on the Rewind if you're watching in the future, guys. So as you can see here, I'm doing a little screen share here because there was some news just to jump into it. And if unless you've been living under a rock or something, you know that they brought back, announced Robert Downey Jr. at Comic Con. It's supposed to have been a surprise that he is going to be, Robert Downey Jr. has been brought back. Mr. Iron Man himself has been brought back to be Doctor Doom. Okay, so remember that because that's going to kind of bookend. I got a little bit of a plan in my head here, right? So there was a live stream. Hey, what's up? Will Marvel still make movies when Robert Downey Jr. turns 75? I don't know if it'll be Marvel, but hopefully we will have some Robert Downey Jr. somewhere. I bet they would love that. So just to kind of get over on this, there was this weird backlash that may already be over with the speed of the internet and people and the amount of what's the word I can say, the amount of controversy that's out there when it comes to movies. Things move real quick, and I never know who's hanging on to what and who's just trolling. So just to repeat what I said, the surprise cast revealing during San Diego Comic Con 2024, we know that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom. Now, I think it makes no sense, but we will go ahead and I'm just going to see how that goes. Now, I honestly, seriously do not even know if I'm going to watch this movie. So, a few days ago, Marvel Studios, it says here on March 2026, apparently did this very strange 5 hour live stream to where I didn't watch it. I was at work. Heard about it. Wasn't real, again, not that interested. But apparently during the live stream, they would just kind of pan down, I guess, some movie chairs, and you would see people who are coming back for the movie and some surprises. And it looks to me like they did the Wolverine Deadpool formula, right? Looks like they are pulling in from some of the Fox movies from back in the day a little bit, some nostalgia, some new things going on, and of course, with it being the internet, there's been some backlash, but we'll see if that's even worth the mentioning. So people that are coming back: Chris Hemsworth, Thor; Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm; Anthony Mackie as Captain America wannabe; Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes; Letitia Wright as Black Panther; Paul Rudd as Ant Man; White Russell, U.S. Agent. We got Namor, whatever his name is, coming back. The guy who is pretty much looks like about 135 pounds of uncooked dough, and he's definitely not my Namor. But got the Thing coming back, the actor who plays the Thing. Samuel Liu as Shang Chi. Florence Pugh as Yelena, Kelsey Grammer as the Beast, and there we go. And that's what I was talking about. That's, to me, is absolutely amazing because I feel like at times I'm one of the few people that still loves about 99% of those Fox movies of the X-Men. One of the most surreal moments of my life is when I laid off of work and back in the days to watch the first X-Men movie, and that surreal feeling of not only seeing a child Magneto in that prison camp, in the movie, but to see Wolverine pop his claws for the first time in real life. It's a movie magic, guys, but you get what I'm saying. It wasn't animated. We got the Sentry coming, Louis Pullman, Danny Ramirez as Falcon. Anybody really actually know who that is? I mean, really? I'm assuming he's popped up in the last movie or from the TV show. I don't know. We'll get on where I think they went off track here. Joseph Quinn as Human Torch. Let's talk about Joseph Quinn. The other day, if you had me on Facebook, I shared a memory where, as Eddie Munson in Stranger Things, he died, I don't know, 39 years ago to save us all. So it was the anniversary of that character's death a few days ago. Eddie Munson is one of my favorite characters from not just the Stranger Things, but any TV show ever, because that was my era. As growing up as a kid, I was 13 when Eddie Munson would have been graduating. Anyway, Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, David Harbour as Red Guardian. He's already played Hellboy, also another Stranger Things guy. Winston Duke as Mabuka, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. What a waste. I know he's had his own Disney TV shows and stuff, but Tom Hiddleston as Loki, another one of those things I never thought I would see in a movie, in live action. Absolute great character. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. Hey, keep, Ian McKellen as Magneto. It'll be very interesting to see what we have there. Alan Cummings is Nightcrawler. Again, these X-Men movies, something I never thought I would see was Nightcrawler done right, even with the German accent. Rebecca Romaine as Mystique. That's amazing. That's fantastic. James Marsden is Cyclops. Got to tell you guys, I was a Cyclops fan when it came to the X-Men. I kind of ignore how they've made him a bitch over the last 20 some years. But James Marsden is Cyclops. I thought that was fantastic casting. Channing Tatum is Gambit. That is the feel-good story from the Wolverine Deadpool. If you know the behind-the-scenes story about Channing Tatum playing Gambit and the history of that, it was promised and didn't really happen. Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic. Again, guys, Pedro Pascal, great Mandalorian. He's been hilarious at times on Saturday Night Live, which if you can find a funny skit on Saturday Night Live, you need to save it. They're so few and far between, but I'm just not buying him as Reed Richards. This is not a case of like when I was 16 and was an idiot going Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom as Beetlejuice. That is not what's going on here, So that's the whole deal. Now, some of the backlash, as you get to the point here, they're doing, this is the movie, okay? But some of the I'm going to go to the comments here in a minute, guys, so y'all keep commenting. But some of the backlash that I've seen, and I don't know what the mileage is as of today, right? Because, I just kind of checked it out on Friday a little bit to see what was going on. But there is a movie critic reviewer, movie news channel with a lady named Grace. You either know who she is or you don't. And I feel like she was trying to stir the pot here with a little bit, because she has lost some of her credibility over the last few years on some hot takes. Basically, she was saying, where's the women? Where's all the women in this, right? And then the other thing that I saw, again, I don't know what the mileage was, but there was people, supposedly, I call this every time. When a character pops up, all of a sudden, everybody's a fan. Everybody's an expert. And what is this weird haze in the room? Yeah, it is what it is, guys. But anyway, all of a sudden everybody's like, how dare you cast Robert Downey Jr.? He's white. And, if you read the books, Dr. Doom is not white and stuff, right? And I just scrolled on by. I think we finally have reached a point where this sort of thing is just people see what it is, it's ridiculous and stuff, right? I think we've gotten past that. I haven't seen a bunch of videos pop up over the last 2 days of everybody jumping on these little controversies or anything like that. So I think that's fantastic. So let me get up here. Paulo Costa, guys, he is here. Hey, by the way, how do you like my rebranding? I'm going full so intellectual. I love the rebranding. Okay. Yes, Paulo Costa, Comics Perspectives. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to my friend here. I think you've been hosting the Friday night show that usually what started out on my channel. Been on Jared's channel, went back and forth, and now it looks like you picked up the reins of the Cavern of Chaos show that I think is on its 5th year, guys. It's fantastic. The Comic Collector, great to see you. Fantastic. Make sure you subscribe to him. I don't even know how they plan on paying residuals. Don't even know how they plan on paying residuals to the cast. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm more worried about residuals for the comic book creators. Offer a coffee, be back later. Okay, great. We missed his plug, but that's cool. That's cool, right? So let's talk about the MCU a little bit leading up to Secret Wars here and a few things, right? So what I have in front of me, guys, is you are not seeing things. Switch this light over. That's annoying. Okay, of course it's not a Howler Mouse show without technical issues, because I'm just that guy, right? So in front of you are my DVDs of the Marvel movies. Now, these aren't the Blu-rays. Those are packed up upstairs somewhere. But I've ended up, getting these over the years, right? Because believe it or not, if I remember right, we are close to 20 years since Iron Man, since this thing launched, right? This MCU launched, right? Let me look here. 2008. Okay, so what are we looking at? 17 years as of now, right? And that Doomsday movie and the Secret Wars movie have been pushed up to what, 2026, 2027 or something, right? So I'm kind of wondering why they're pushing the movies up besides the obvious disaster of Phase 4, right? But in 2008, I go to the movies. I went by myself. I'm one of the people that thinks that is not a big deal because at the time it was a superhero movie. Now, before this, we've had Batman movies, Christopher Nolan, Keaton, all that stuff, all the other versions that followed the Tim Burton stuff. We had the X-Men movies, and then before that, the Superman movies, and then you had some TV specials, TV shows, fantastic cartoons of the superheroes, if you will, in the 90s, if you will, and stuff like that. But we did not know what was coming. And it was so odd for me to see this they're going with Iron Man. Iron Man's going to be their movie. So, of course, I was going to go see it. Now, let me talk about the casting. And you can compare this to what they've done over the years, right? This was magic in a bottle, right? Before this, you had The Crow that had fantastic casting. You had Sin City, where Frank Miller said that as Robert Rodriguez had him sit at a table while actors came to audition or for him to meet them, all of a sudden he was seeing not his drawings come to life. He started seeing people coming in who looked like his drawings and stuff, right? But Robert Downey Jr. was the guy, the underdog, if you will. I don't even want to call him an underdog because he did it to himself, sabotaged himself, with his drug abuse and issues and his demons and stuff, as they say out there, stuff like that. So if you know anything about comics, you know that Tony Stark with Demon in the Bottle, they had him become an alcoholic, right? So all of a sudden you were like, this is perfect. And you have some people sort of, I don't know about Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man. Well, those are the guys that didn't know the comics, and you could bring it up. So all of a sudden this movie comes out. I go to the theater. And as I'm watching this, I'm slowly starting to notice that this is not your typical comic book movie. I'm sitting here like, this is pretty good. You have Tony Stark out there on the plane partying. He's out in the Middle East or whatever it was, presenting one of his weapons that he's made, the Walls of Jericho, being theatric, things that are coming and things, right? And then they did it. They kept the Jack Kirby. To me, that is the magic of the Marvel movies, whether you knew who Jack Kirby was or not. And in my opinion, everybody should know who Jack Kirby is. They did the origin. And do I have it out? I don't know if I've got it. I should have thought about it, right? I just bought the figure for like $8 and stuff, right? But they had the original gray armor made in the cave from the origin. And then they had a little bit of artistic ability because when Tony Stark is escaping from the cave where he's supposed to be making weapons, for this dude, it's like he's reborn, and he's got like the heart condition and everything, right? And I'm like, this, they're doing it. And that moment where I saw the gray armored Iron Man and him busting out of the cave, I was like, this shouldn't be this good, right? And then we go all the way to the end. We've got Tony Stark finding his way hilariously, making the armor and coming up with learning how to fly, and we got a little bit of everything in there. And then all of a sudden we have Big Lebowski there, the Big Lebowski with the shaved head, the dude, who I'm talking about, Mr. Jeff Bridges there, and he's making his scientists try to replicate everything that Tony did in that cave, the energy source and everything. And then all of a sudden you have the scientist going, I'm sorry. And he's like, for what? For not being as smart as Tony Stark, after he just went off on him saying that Tony Stark made this in a cave with spare parts and stuff, right? I'm like, my God, this is fantastic. And I knew I had just been in a moment of cinematic and comic book history by pure luck, just by being into this stuff, and did not know what was coming, right? So it all started with Iron Man blindsiding us. You know what I mean? Like, we did not know what we were in for. And I'm still kind of curious of why it was Iron Man that started all this, but hey, it is what it is, right? So in the midst of all that, okay, we had a Hulk movie. So they're saying didn't do well. I thought it was fantastic, and they were leading up to the Avengers and Captain America. And in the midst of all of this, I started going back in my head, remembering an interview that Stan Lee did somewhere in the 90s. At least I saw it in the 90s, where they were talking about movies. They were talking about all these guys that created these comic books on the East Coast in the 60s. And as he said, if they had been on the West Coast, they would have been into movies instead of comics and stuff, right? And they're talking about Kirby and Ditko and Buscema, all those guys over there, right? Wood and everybody, Everett, and all the classics and stuff, right? And but in the midst of that interview, Stan Lee was saying that one of the things they were working towards with a lot of things was that they had the vision of doing the movies like they did the comics, the shared universe and stuff. And we were starting to see that being built. At the same time, and forgive me for not exactly remembering what the time slot was and stuff, right? Or what they called the block of cartoons that they had. I want to say it was like Disney XM or something, right? But Disney had a channel, and they were showing the X-Men cartoons, from the 90s, the 90s Hulk show, I think of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, a lot of the old properties of Marvel Comics with their cartoons that have been on Saturday mornings over the year, and they actually sued Disney for not having those shows on at prime time hours or something. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And I always felt that I was like, you're really trying to get Disney's attention here. And I feel like that's what led them to Disney being like, what is this? What do we have here? And the next thing you know, Disney has bought up Marvel and Marvel Comics and things a few years later. I was a little more concerned about the movies. I'm not exactly at this point, I was not a Disney hater, nor am I now, but I'm definitely not a fan, now and stuff, right? So over the years, we had all sorts of chances taken. We had all sorts of movies come out. We had Captain America. They kept the Kirby. They had Civil War and Winter Soldier, probably the best trilogy in all the MCU movies within there, right? We got to see Spider-Man debut. They made a deal with Sony. We saw amazing things happening with what we're going to see. I saw Thor fight the Destroyer. I mean, this stuff at the time was obscure knowledge to the normies outside of comics and things, right? And I'm seeing Kirby in the background. Okay, in the Thor movie, we saw the Rainbow Bridge in Asgard, as close to Kirby as you can get. We, when I went and watched the first Captain America movie, and as he got into World War II, I saw the Howling Commandos. I saw Dum Dum Dugan in the background, people. All right. I'm not just seeing like the main archetype characters in the building of the Avengers and the first Avenger and all this stuff, man. I am seeing things come to life that Jack Kirby did. And that was sort of the magic, right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, guys. Then Guardians of the Galaxy, they took a chance on that. You can go back and look at my appreciate what people. You got to remember when Guardians of the Galaxy with Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Star Lord, and all that stuff was coming out. People were predicting and feeling like that could be Marvel's first misstep. This was going to be their first movie that bombed, which surprises me when people talk about the first Hulk movie bombing. I don't remember a movie bombing when this stuff started. Maybe it just didn't do well as the others, and times have changed and stuff, right? But anyway, I have the video up where I talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, it's going to be a freaking blockbuster because it has a raccoon with a machine gun, and it's a very light video, but I predicted it. To me, it wasn't an epiphany. To me, it was just common sense. Like, oh no, this is going to be good, right? So we got to see this magic, and another thing that it did, it actually gave a validation, right? We went all the way up. They had Jack Kirby, okay, and there's so many people that need to be mentioned in the comic books that they pulled from, in the creation of these characters, subplots, just things that they pulled from it, and of course, the one being the biggest is Jim Starlin when it comes story wise with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity War, Endgame, what the amazing things they ended up doing that surprised me with in Infinity War with Gamora and Thanos's relationship. What they did there was like film. You know what I mean? Like we went from a movie to we had moments of an actual film in there, which surprised me and stuff, right? So there was a lot of substance to these, right? And what was it, guys? Somebody help me out. I feel like it's 33 movies, and that seems too many. I don't know. But we had the crossover of where all the movies came together, where we had the Avengers, right? Which was just amazing. I go to see Avengers, and I can't remember if I was living with the girl at the time or we broke up and gone out one more time. I don't know. Anyway, but I remember sitting in a theater in Roanoke. I'm watching Avengers for the first time. I actually saw a bootleg version online 5 days before it hit America, right? So as I'm sitting there and I'm watching the Avengers movie, she turns to me. She goes, "Is this what it's like reading comic books for you?" And I got to say every month, things like that. So they kept the Kirby in it. They built the universe, the shared movie cinematic universes. We're seeing the crossovers in the movies like they used to be real rare in the comics. And we're just having fantastic now, keeping that quality of story in each movie went up and down. There were some iffy ones. Iron Man 2, a little bit shaky. Iron Man 3, I didn't even go see. I've never heard good feedback on it. I think was it Thor, was it Dark Ages? Whatever, the second or third, one of the Thor movies I actually fell asleep in the theater watching and stuff, right? So let's not do that. But Winter Soldier, an amazing movie. Civil War, I was like, they're doing it. I'm in the theater and Ant-Man's running around, and then all of a sudden he busts out. And I'm sitting there in the theater like some little kid going, Giant Man. I saw it. You know what I mean? So some of the things that I've seen since a kid. Infinity War, I felt like started validating this hobby that I've done since 1977. And then Endgame just did it. Endgame, what an ironic tale from Iron Man to Endgame, guys, right? This one fantastic shared universe. And they kept a lot of the comic books in there. And I feel they kept a lot of the Jack Kirby. Now I'm going to start talking about where they might have went a little askew, and just my opinion. Okay, let's put it that way, right? Okay, somebody knows exactly what I was talking about. Okay, here we go. Comic collector. I buy way too many new comics to be an intellectual. Hey, John is here. Great to see you, John. Be like John. Subscribe, thumb up if you like what you're hearing. Hit that bell so you know when I do these things. Hey, Broad Church. What is that? Yeah, Board at Church is here. Great to see you, man. You're starting to pop up as a regular, I believe. Feeling old after hearing almost 20 years since Iron Man. We're getting there. It's getting there, right? Oh, John says classics. Cayman X is here. Great to see you, brother. Here we go. Going to what I was talking about. I think it was called Disney XD or JetX. JetX. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm getting at. It happened. It was there. In my opinion, I've always felt that's where somebody at Disney was like, wait a minute, what is this? Okay. Cayman X, I haven't kept up with the MCU at all. All I know about it is Robert Downey Jr. is Doom, apparently. Right. John, the return of Doctor Doom excites me, and I wonder why Marvel hasn't capitalized on great Doctor Doom stories over the years. Right? Okay. I'm going to try to keep on track with what I'm saying here, but I think we're all on the same page. Reading a lot of Cayman X Band-Aid. I cannot see this. There's a nay. All right. Cayman X is reading something cool. I feel like I should know what that is. Afro SSX is here. Great. Comic Crack has popped up. Good morning, Crack. Great to see you as always, brother. I'm currently reading Captain Britain Omnibus and Batman the Long Halloween. Great stuff, man. All that is great stuff, right? So if you're into the movies and stuff, a few things happen. And a little bit of my bitching over the years, I can only react with what they put out and what I like. I'm a very into comic book history, into the movies and things, and to see a big decline with Marvel Comics sales and the storytelling stuff. A lot of the old guard had moved out, people had aged out. Powers that be felt like it's time to get some young blood in here and stuff. You can be a great big huge superstar selling tons of comics and stuff, but then you get over 40s and all of a sudden your time is clicking away, right? I've actually met people who I've had to explain some of John Byrne's accomplishments. Hey, Lester, come on in here. I have the original scaredy cat, guys. My cat is freaking out in there over something, right? So all of a sudden after Endgame, I was sort of like, man, that's it. I mean, you talk about just an amazing moment and a payoff for having a joy. Nothing ever really felt like work watching these movies and stuff, right? And then we get into the next phase, right? And you got to remember the time and the area. Ideologies were popping up. It was a very stressful time politically for a lot of people and all of us. There was just so much division and stuff that was going on over many ideologies. You had the term SJWs popping up. It was a weird time to be there, and you had a very visceral relationship, I guess. I hate to put it that way. If you were a comic fan and you were following some creators online and the rise of Comic Gate and all the stuff that was coming out of it, it was starting to be just not a fun time. Then, of course, a pandemic hit. For years in the comic books, they were doing a lot of change that made no sense. None of this change was coming in with story. They were changing characters, getting rid of characters. And then this started reflecting these books didn't work. There were tons of Miss Marvel comics. Number one, Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel became Captain Marvel. And that's the one where they were like, this is going to be the person who's going to spearhead the next phase in the future of the MCU. A character whose comic they kept starting over and over and over and putting her in a lot of things, and it was never taken off. So there was a lot of things that were going on in the comics that people were aware of, even though you have your Marvel movie fans and your comic fans. They are two different things, and every now and then, like a Venn diagram, they could cross over, and your comic book people and your movie people actually was much smaller than you thought. Blew my mind. Live and learn. Things like that. So movies didn't translate into comic book sales, but nor did the comic books really try to cash in, it felt like, on the movies at the time. They were too busy changing everything. And a lot of that change came from, and we can look back on it now, and I think, it's definitely a factor that a lot of people did not grow up reading these comics to know what they were writing. So all of a sudden, they're trying to bring in a bunch of those characters. Then when they had the established characters going on, they announced that we have Captain Marvel, who's going to spearhead. She's going to be the new anchor. That's why this is all Adrift. Robert Downey Jr. was the anchor, for the classic era of the MCU. And they're going to make Brie Larson and this Captain Marvel the new anchor is what they call, right? And then on top of that, now, love her or hate her, I don't care. Okay. I mean, like, if you like the Brie Larson Captain Marvel, I'm going to be like, cool for you. Not a big deal, I did not like the movies. There's a couple things I could point out in there. I was just shaking my head like, what the hell is this? And then they said that their new main villain, they go from Thanos, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, here it comes. We're going to have Doctor Doom. Is it going to be Galactus? There's so many other characters to pick from. Is it going to be Annihilus? I'm just sitting here thinking there's just so many things to go. And then they go Kang. the Conqueror. I'm sitting here back. The guy with the thigh-high pirate boots, the dresses in purple, the guy who's from the future, and he goes back to the 60s and can't even beat a bunch of heroes from the 60s. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here like, really? You would have had a better deal going with Immortus or something, right? I don't know if you're going to go that way with it. And I'm like, and then we get all this time travel stuff. And then we get some subpar movies. The Eternals movie that everybody was hyped about, things, right? It flopped, and it's been on Disney Plus for a while, several years. And I know people that even though it is sitting there for free with their subscription, they've never felt like a need to watch it. And I've watched clips here and there, like, maybe I want to commit to this and stuff, right? And what I could see is that on top of making some very bad choices and deciding to do a few things a little bit different, the mess with the formula that worked, they picked the wrong anchor. That anchor was set adrift. She kind of went rogue on her own with the PR stuff, right? They took the Kirby out of a book that Kirby wrote, drew, edited, created. They took the Kirby out and decided to, do the diversity thing and tell these stories, which would have been fine, but you still kept the Kirby in there and things like that. They had plot lines. They had the huge plot line, plot point or ending where a freak, we had a celestial pop out of the earth or something, and it took them almost 5 years, was it, to finally follow up on that, I guess, and then, like I said, they just really lost their way with some very bad decisions, some bad movies, some actors acted very bad, all the way up to this last Captain America movie, New Brave World, saying things and everything like that. So if you don't think that was really a factor, then look at what's going on with Snow White right now, right? Everything that happened with Snow White was kind of compact, you know what I mean? And it was sprinkled with things that were affecting pretty much Hollywood everywhere, okay? But it just sort of kind of culminated like, here's the monster, right? Now, thankfully, in the midst of all this, Kevin Feige supposedly said something where he was sort of quoted with these flops of the Marvels, the handling and PR spins that we all know was a PR spin. We with the realities in front of us and things, the way they were trying to spin numbers on these things to say they did not flop, all the behind the scenes stuff that was either leaked on purpose or really going on, we don't know, or things like that. It slowly started to not be about the Marvel universe and these characters in the story, but it was started becoming about, hey, the Kang actor is up for some very bad charges. Hey, Brie Larson has said this, and I don't think she's supposedly being a diva, and she's mad about not get her movie not being Captain Marvel 2 instead of it ended up becoming about the drama and the behind the scenes stuff and the actors and the bad behavior and the stupid stuff, Go back and look at remember how the first set of Marvel movies that I just showed you from Iron Man to there, how much really bad stuff did you hear? Not too much, right? So all of a sudden, Kevin Feige was like, with his phase 4, he supposedly said something like, hey, we tried something different. I went with you guys on this stuff. We're getting back on course, right? And what do? They bring back the original anchor. We have Brie Larson sitting there saying, I don't know if I'm coming back. I don't know. Do they want me? Do they want me? On a red carpet or something, or wherever she was with some dude from Entertainment Tonight or something, or Weekly or whatever it was, talking to her. It's all out there. That's what gets me. That's how come I never know how much of this stuff is real and how much of it is planned, to be released. Actors used to have everything they said approved by a PR team. There was never really anything they said that was authentic. It was always pre-approved and run by people. Now I don't know. Maybe it's more about being viral than making money in a movie. I don't know, right? So their idea of getting back on course is they came out with a pretty solid movie there, Daredevil versus Wolverine. And what do they do in the midst of this? They bring out all the most of the Fox characters that kind of helped start the MCU, right? I know we had Professor Xavier pop up in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, but that movie was a horrible movie. But anyway, they turn around, and in that we have Elektra and we have Blade. You know what I mean? And we have a really very feel good moment, man. I was so happy. I didn't even know I needed this, right? But it was so happy to see those characters get an ending, worthy of them. they did help set up the blocks. Some of them were done wrong. That Electra movie was horrible. You know what I mean? So good for Jennifer Gardner to have a moment where like we get to see how badass she could be. You know what I mean? Given the right material and stuff, right? We got to see the Fantastic Four Fox movies referenced. You know what I mean? Thinking that we're going to see, Captain America pop up in the wasteland there, and Deadpool being all excited and stuff, and all of a sudden we get the original Johnny Storm, if you know who I'm talking about, guys. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I like talking about these things, right? And it feels like it's the way they're going. Avengers Doomsday feels like they're going to be popping back some of that and giving credit where credit is due, even though it's probably a marketing technique and a feel-good moment. In other words, it's fan service, and there's nothing wrong with fan service being sprinkled out there as long as like you don't let it affect the way you want to go with the story. You know what I mean? Unless it keeps you from making bad decisions. But there's nothing wrong with a little sprinkling up there, having this feel good moment of like some of these actors and characters finally get done right. You know what I mean? Like they get a good turn. They get that salivated. So that's where I think a lot of the MCU went wrong. You started taking the Kirby out of it. You started not referencing the the classic comic book creators, and you started, going with some of the stuff that's happened over the last decade in comic books and things like that. And the movie MCU, to me, even though I'm sure a lot of that stuff, they probably had like a brief outline of where they were wanting to go, and it still had enough spontaneity to where it felt like some of that stuff some decisions may have been made while the movies were going on and things like that. Maybe some scripts weren't finished. I've heard many things over the years, but it still had that magic. And then there were still things you could see if you were it didn't matter. There was some obscure stuff referenced or in the background of those movies that made it fun, right? And then all of a sudden they kind of stopped doing that, and it got more, like I said, about I hate to use the word ideologies or something like that, but people started skipping the movies, and then you had like the Shang-Chi actor was like running his mouth online to where that's why a lot of people did not see it. Go ahead and see the movie and stuff, even though the people that saw the movie were like, no, it was actually pretty good, and things. So yeah, they started hurting the movies and stuff, right? But like I said, it still feels like they are a little bit adrift, and I really do hope they pull these movies together. Now, the second thing I want to say here, let me see here. Let me do some comments, but the other thing that I want to say what I think the other thing with the Marvel movies may be, because come on in here, Lester. Come on. Just having a scaredy morning here. All right. Ooh, yeah, look at this. Keep the comments coming, man. Here we go. Doom 2099 is the greatest Doctor Doom story ever, especially issues 26, the Warren Ellis issues, the 39, when he takes over America and becomes president. I've got quite a few of those, and I have number 1 signed by Pat Broderick. Yeah, that's a fantastic story. Absolutely. Kind of the shining gem out of that 2099 series back in the day. I'm on the third. Yeah, we're reading. Here we go. The movies have dropped off after Endgame. Yeah, that's my whole point about why and what's going on, right? And I also have another theory, right? Uh, Euro comics, I'm mostly reading French, Belgium, and Italian comics. Fantastic. I really wish I could get a lot more of that stuff over here. Tardy seems to be my number 1 guy. I stopped after Endgame and haven't felt the need to go further for any reason. Galactus would be great to see after how they dealt with Eternity. I'm not sure they represent him very well. That's what I'm getting at. This is their chance. You know what I mean? Like, and they went with Kang. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Kang of all things. That Ant-Man movie was horrible, guys. Oh my God. Anyway, maybe I'm just more interested in these characters as comic characters than I am movie characters. I don't really know. No, that's really yeah, no, I think that's very valid. There's an agreement there. I love Doctor Doom from the 80s Fantastic Four, Secret Wars comics. I miss the character from the comics. I personally, and I mean personally, like I know there's some great Doom stories out there, but I don't feel like Doctor Doom has been done any justice since Secret Wars. I 42 years. And John Byrne was still doing Doctor Doom stories after that and stuff, right? I love Doctor Doom. I've been trying to draw like Tom Grummett, imitating styles. One of my favorites. Tom Grummett, Tom Rainey, oh my God, Kerry Gamble. I think those are three. Jeff Ursherwood. I have those four guys, and I little bubble all their selves because I think they're fantastic artists that never got their due. And I got to tell Tom Rainey that when he signed some stuff for me. He and George Perez. I don't really follow what actors are saying, and for the most part, I don't care anyway. For me, the only thing that started hurting the MCU is the MCU itself. I can see that. I can definitely see that's an interesting take, Crack. The movies have just gotten worse with the storytelling. John agrees. Yep, yep, and that's what I'm getting at. Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at, right? In a roundabout way, right? So my second theory, on top of everything, like there's no one great big huge answer, right? I don't believe in superhero fatigue, right? Because it, superhero fatigue, yes. Comic book fatigue, no, right? There is such a variety of characters that when you watch these movies, you can forget they're actually supposed to be superheroes, right? Captain America, superhero. Thor, God of Thunder. You know what I mean? Like, the little, you get these backgrounds. You have science fiction, you have mythology, you have enough things to mix it up to where it doesn't have to be a carbon copy. Even though they started to make a carbon copy of these origin stories, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, and Iron Man, all the same plot. You know what I mean? Same characters. We got a villain. We got this. We got that. They started getting a formula to how they were doing the storytelling, and it was there. There's a lot of these movies where it was the formula, right? They went with what worked. A lot of money on the line, sure. Well, that's forgivable. We'll say it's forgivable, right? You got these characters out there to build up to the big crossovers. But the other thing is that sometimes, okay, sometimes these things. I said that Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Was the anchor, and then they let go of their anchor. He just, there's his choice, their choice, mutual choice, whatever. And then all of a sudden they tried to make Brie Larson their anchor, and that just is not, no, 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 no. Talk about a course shift. And then all of a sudden it's just sort of been out there floating. A few good movies, a lot more bombs, a lot less interesting movies, getting away from comics. I feel like they took the Kirby out. Or the other thing is that these things sometimes just run their course, and you can just watch that boat go out on the horizon and disappear into the sunset. You know what I mean? I think maybe the MCU has run its course, and they tried to start a new storyline, which was going to be formulaic of the first, couple sets of movies from Iron Man to Endgame. But the irony, it's right there in front of them. The irony is Endgame may have been the end of the real MCU, where people getting up. Think about that commitment. Okay, that's over. What was it, like over 10 years? Um, when did Endgame come out? I feel like that was 2018. It does. Oh, 2019, according to this, right? So 12 years, a 12-year commitment. I've had TV shows where I couldn't commit to the whole thing because X Files. You know what I mean? I had a big commitment to watching X Files. That's kept me from really committing to more shows than I could have. You know what I mean? I committed to really the first 5 years of Supernatural, things like that, right? So a 12-year commitment, right? And then you reach the thing where it is now generational, and whether they want to say it or not, there's people that grew up on kids. There's kids that grew up. It's obvious. I was working in schools for 6 years. I saw the Halloweens. I saw the Iron Man costumes, the Wolverine costumes. Come on up here. I saw the costumes and the kids' love for them, and they knew their stuff. Even though they didn't know the comics, they could tell you about these movies. I walked into a room 2010, I think, 2009, 2010. I went into a third grade room. If you've seen my older videos, you remember I had sideburns and just a chin beard here, right? The Van Dyke, if you will. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so I'm walking in, I'm filling in for one of my coworkers. I'm walking into a classroom just to check on some of our clientele that day as I'm a substitute. And one of the kids turns around and he goes, "It's you." I'm like, "It's me." And I look at the teacher. She's just smiling. The kid goes, "It's really you." I'm like, "Yes, it's really me." And he went, "It's you." And I went, "Who am I?" And he went, "Wolverine." So I told some of my friends about this. And if you go watch the Wolverine movie, was it Origins, I think? But the montage that opens up the movie, there's a part where Logan is in World War II, chomping, he's got the helmet on and he's chomping on the cigar as he's running across the battlefield real quick. It's only there for a split second. That looked like me in that 1 second. I'm like, wow, that's it. My friends called it out. So these kids love this movie, and they're just not impressed with what they've been doing. Okay, you know what I mean? The Wasp, Black Widow, all these things. The kids are just not into this, right? They're just not. They've had their Thors and Iron Mans. They grew up with this, and that was 2010. I just referenced that was 15 years ago, guys. There's not one of those kids that's still in school. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They grew up with this stuff. They moved on to other things. The other thing is like there's may not be a story to tell, right? They've got. It blows my mind. They have 80. Oh my gosh, is it closer to 80 years now? Yeah, they've got over 80 years. We'll say 1938. Timely Comics, Atlas Comics. Captain America came out 1940. What? Human Torch came out in 1939. They have all these comic books that they could pull from, and they've just messed up. There's so many epic storylines to pull from. There's so many crossovers, so many things where they can get back down the earth. They have all this reference material. 64 years of just Marvel. And I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe 30, 35 of that is worth reading, regularly and stuff. They have all this stuff. My scaredy cat is here, guys. Sorry, this is Lester. I have all these kids. They have all these comics that they could pull from as a guideline to where they could go with this. So I don't know what's happened. I don't know why they're not going for more epic stories. You know what I mean? They're not doing the Battle World Secret Wars. They're doing the Secret Wars that they published, what was it, 10 years ago, back in the 2000 teens. And I have the video from way back in the day where I kind of mentioned that they have to publish characters every so often to keep the rights to them. And that Secret Wars crossover was an excuse to have all those different universes referenced and stuff, right? If you remember right, they also had Starbrand and Nightmask, a version of them popping up in the Avengers at the same time. You've got to publish these characters to keep the rights to them. They have to be in print every so often to keep them. And that's all that was. It wasn't really to streamline anything. It was like, let's see what we can do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think maybe the movies have just run their course, a 12-year commitment. Okay. Think about what 12 years is. That's kindergarten to 12th grade for some people, right? You know what I'm saying? Just all the way straight through school. A decade basically has its own cultural phenomenons and music and styles and everything. And then we move on to a different decade and stuff, right? So just the whole lifespan of this, the whole lifespan of it may be exactly what it was supposed to be. And I got to tell you, if somebody was going to, I mean, I remember somewhere along the line, somebody online was willing to pay somebody to sit down and do nothing but watch the Marvel movies from beginning to end, and they would get paid for it. But they had like 2 or 3 days to do it or something somehow. So there's things like that maybe this has just run its course. Maybe the lightning, it didn't escape the bottle. You know what I mean? It just kind of fizzled out there over the years. I think maybe these things, and it's time for something new. You know, if you watch Toy Story, they did this fantastic job of talking about uh, how culture changes, if you will, how it used to be all about the westerns and Woody, and he's getting replaced by Buzz Lightyear of space. That happened in real life. So get up here. Okay, crack. I saw something about the Daredevil show. The the new Daredevil series is a great example. It's fucking awful. And first, sorry guys, it's like this tiny. The new Daredevil series is a great example. It's fucking awful, first off, but it's due to just shitty storytelling and not any sort of gender or anything. I tried to watch the first episode. Okay. And I'm agreeing with you, Crack. So I go in there, I sort of have no expectations. Okay. Because I actually like the actors. I think Charlie Cox, I saw something might be one of the freaking Avengers movies finally. But anyway, so the Netflix shows, I saw a lot of Old Boy in that first season. And what killed me was Netflix's all their shows at the time. It feels like they have 20 to 30 minutes worth of story. They drag it out for an hour. The pacing kills me, right? So I kind of dipped out of some of those. Watched, you know what I mean? But I was like, when they had some good shit, they had some good shit. So I tried to watch the new Disney version come back. My friend, I lasted 20 minutes and I never looked back, never thought anything of it. I don't even think I made a video about it. So yeah, I agree with you, right? Yeah, there's just not, and what I think has gone on with that is what I'm talking about with the Marvel stuff now. I think the Netflix stuff had already run its course because even though I didn't watch season three, I was confused because I thought they did Born Again. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's a lot of YouTube stuff that I kind of, that's how I know to hear what's going on sometimes when people talk about it in their videos, and we have less and less of that. So yeah, that this right here with the Daredevil thing, I think it should have ended with Netflix because there was no, they did it. It ran its course. I don't think there's really anything to point a finger at. It just it was done. How do you feel about DC's attempt for a revival of their movies? I like what okay trailers. I like the trailers that I've seen. Okay, I like some of the news, the casting, the characters they're using. But when the movie comes out, and I'm gonna go see it, the Superman movie, I'm not a big fanboy about this stuff. If it's a good damn movie or I like what they're doing, yeah, I like it. I'm waiting to see what they do. I want to see the product. I want to see what is finished. Um, I feel like it's going to be good, but you got to understand, I'm a DC guy. You know what I mean? Okay. The characters that they're pulling from, I've got the JSA stuff. I gave Black Adam a pass because I saw some JSA characters, even though they fucked them up. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I mean. Sometimes I'm just like, well, you know, I got to see for a split second, I saw the real Black Adam in a movie. You know what I mean? For a split second. Where's my Steve Ditko Mr. A movie? Oh my god, that would drive me nuts. Mr. A blows my mind. When I finally got to read that Sleepwalker movie, it's hilarious. They might as well go for Sleepwalker because Sandman is done. Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Fritz the Cat CGI movie is what I'm holding out for. Oh my god. I think it's Amazon Prime, but I introduced my wife to Fritz the Cat a couple weeks ago when I was laid up with COVID. Um, we didn't get very far into it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's oh my god, crack. You got me thinking now, man. I would be first in line for that. Oh my god. If it's Nine Lives of Fritz the Cat, I think that was a little too heavy. To be honest, I find Robert Downey Jr. coming back as lazy writing. I truly hope it's fake out and we get a real Doom. It's definitely reeks of desperation, board at church, and that's what I thought. Um, when I saw it, I was like, you know, they went from Brie Larson to this Kang actor. The movies have gone downhill. They're doing, like I said, they got to bring back the original anchor. Well, it's not the original anchor. I mean, we'll see what they do, but is this Victor Von Doom, or is this another version of Tony Stark? I don't know. We got to see what they're going to do. Um, but yeah, it did reek of desperation, is what I think. I went in with a bit of expectation. If I'm honest, I love Daredevil and generally like Charlie Cox's Daredevil, but damn, man, it's brutal. Look, I give the Ben Affleck movie a pass. I'm not the guy. You know, it's like I can acknowledge it's a bad movie, but I'm not going to bash it. You know what I mean? You know, you know, I was sort of like, why did they make Matt Damon Daredevil? Why are they doing Ben Affleck? I remember thinking that. You know, oh, I'm a masochist. I've watched all the episodes. That's cool. That's cool, man. You know, look, just because I down things does not mean I judge other people. I want people to enjoy things. I want all this stuff to be fun. I want people to experience those magical moments that I had in watching Batman the Animated Series when I finally was able to find a Fox channel. I want everybody to have the feeling I had when I saw Iron Man, when I saw X-Men, I saw Logan pop those claws. I go all the way back to a kid, like when I first started Star Wars, right? If you could get that feeling with this stuff, right? I mean, I saw Daredevil on a big screen before I was 30. You know, never thought I'd see that. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, here we go. We need Oh my God. If you guys knew the text that I've been getting from Gore Vidal and a few other people about Tom King and Booster Gold, it's just a matter of time before we get a major Tom King Booster Gold story just to piss me off. We need more Tom King right now. Yeah, I may be skipping the Supergirl World of Tomorrow movie. I'm like, yep, showing Fritz the cat to the wife. Yep, yep. I think we're all for an Uno reversal card, John Jones. Yeah, I can see that. You know, Daredevil wise, I love the director cut off the. I love the director cut of the DD film. Yeah, I heard that was very good, and I have never run across it to buy. Season one of Daredevil was like the only one I liked. Okay, yeah, and that's the one I kind of stuck in there a little bit with, and then I would like get a little sample here and there of a few things and stuff, right? So, guys, it is what it is. Uh, for you people here live, as I said before, 5 p.m. Eastern, uh, Pon Adidas and I will be discussing um, Age of Apocalypse. Okay, the X-Men Age of Apocalypse, the original Flashpoint, if you will. It's 30th anniversary of that X-Men crossover event. That's at 5 today. So make sure you thumbs up this video, share it if you want. Make sure you're subscribed. Pop in there tonight, you know, and it's going to be real laid back. You know what I mean? Like Pon and I, you know, I keep getting sick. We've been planning this for a while and everything. We'll see. It is what it is. You know what I mean? What's fun about it? It's one of the series that I've only read 2 or 3 times, and I've been kind of flipping through the pages and stuff like that. That I don't know inside and out. So it'll be really cool to see what Pon brings to the table here and stuff, right? And see if I can keep up a little bit and stuff, right? So anyway, that's going to be fun. It's going to be laid back comic book talk, and by all means, there are tons of videos out there where they have deep dived into the history of it and stuff. I've been seeing them for feels like 10 years and stuff. They seem to pop up on some of the comic book channels that I'm subscribed to that still put out content. So yeah, check that out today. Okay, March 30th, 2025. Okay, 5 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe, hit the bell, thumb it up. All right, guys. And it looks like we've got you've got here just in time for me to say goodbye. Okay, so back from coffee. How we doing? Show went well, man. Went well. Definitely watched it on the rewind. Okay, came in X. If I can't make it, have a nice day. And then we have Boarded Church Suite. And guys, I'm just going to kind of put it out. Get on Instagram, Howler Mouse on Instagram. When this uploads, there should be a link. Send me a message if you are from, if I know you pretty good or have seen you in the comments and stuff. If you know Age of Apocalypse and stuff and you want to pop on there, let me know. Okay, you got time. There is time. Okay. I see you later for Age of Apocalypse. Absolutely, man. But like I said, if somebody wants to pop on, you still have time to message me and we'll go from there. All right, guys, read your comics, be excellent to each other. If it's raining out there where you're at, like it is where I'm at, yeah, grab something to read. Later, guys.